Welcome to Austin, Texas for round 6 of the FIA World Endurance Championship and what is usually the hottest and driest race of the season. But not this year. The heat of testing feels like a distant memory as the rain clouds have gathered over the circuit of the Americas for what looks set to be the first wet race of 2025. But that hasn't dampened the enthusiasm of the teams or the fans. They are all ready to go racing. It's the first ever LMGT3 pole in the WEC for Ford, and better than that, the duo of Mustangs locked out the front row of the grid in a slippery qualifying session. In Hyperpole, last year's winners, the number 83 AF Corsa Ferrari, set themselves in the best possible position to try and repeat that victory from the front of the field.
Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of love parade.
Wet races have a habit of ripping up the form book and producing unexpected results. Will that be the case in Texas? Only the next 6 hours will tell us.
Under 3 minutes to start behind the safety car. We are under 3 minutes to start behind the safety car.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines!
Everyone, please clear the grid. Everyone, please clear the grid. Remind drivers, we have a flag being waved on driver's right at track level. We have a flag being waved at driver's right at track level.
The field flagged away by Indy 500 winner and endurance racing star Simon Pagenaud. The race underway behind the safety car. Very wet conditions indeed. It's evident that the continuing falling rain here at the Circuit of the Americas is making conditions very tricky, and the weather radar shows there's not likely to be much let up either. This is going to be tough for the drivers. Cold tyres, not much speed, not moving much water. Julie Landauer, number 5 Porsche, that looks like a harmless one.
Here's still weather update. Rain stays like this for the next 1.5 until 2 p.m. at least, and then it could also potentially increase.
Into the pits from last in the field, Clement Schmidt in the 87 Lexus. They started with one of their top graded drivers. Now they're putting their bronze in Petru Umbrorescu, the Romanian, joining his peers. All the other LMGT3 cars started their bronze graded drivers. And as the cars progress around behind the safety car, a number of them now coming in to top off with fuel. It loses them a little bit of track position, but might open up more strategic options.
I'm not sure, but I have the feeling something is smoking on the inside. Either it's condensed from the AC or...
Yeah, it could be, but we are looking on our side.
Starting last in Hypercar, the 93 Peugeot. They too going to top up with fuel to try and open up strategic options. Pulling off to the side of the circuit, René Rast in the number 20 BMW. The rear brake lights flashing on and off. That might be a worry. That could be an indication that there's something amiss with the hybrid system. There's his teammate Robin Freins. Looks like the team already know it's over. And that is a tough break for the BMW number 20 crew.
Looks like we have an isolation issue on the hybrid. So the car was red from inside, it was green from outside, so difficult to understand what happened, but I couldn't pull away, so we had to stop.
The race director brings out the red flag at the 1 hour mark. It is too tough to continue.
We are resuming the race behind the safety car, car 83, 51.
Cars being sorted back into the order in which they were before the red flag. And for the first time, an opportunity now to open up the cars. We go green in Texas. 4 hours and 10 minutes of the 6-hour Lone Star Le Mans remain as Phil Hansen in the yellow Ferrari, last year's winners, head up to turn 1. Behind, James Collado lunging in deep from 5th place. That's Nico Varone in the white and green 99 Proton Porsche. Didn't quite pick up the spot from Nick Nielsen, but it was a good effort. Lots of standing water still. And dauntingly for the drivers in some of the quickest parts of the track. The traction is at its least. Darren Leung takes the lead in the McLaren in LMGT3. Ian James, who won here last year in the heart of racing Aston Martin, giving chase in 2nd place. But as soon as you're in traffic, visibility goes to 0. Here's the restart in LMGT3. With the delayed Peugeot 93, Jean-Eric Verne tearing up through the field, trying to find a way to pass the LMGT3 cars. The points leaders, the 92 Manthey Racing Porsche, Ryan Hardwick, still aboard the car and fighting hard with the Ford Mustangs. With the white nose is Julian Andlauer, who spun earlier, very much earlier, in the number 5 Porsche. That cost him ground. Now he's going by the Alpine of Fred Makovici, and that moves him up to 11th place. Loic Duval's Peugeot just in front. And look how tough the visibility is. There's the white Peugeot, and the Porsche almost getting 2 for the price of 1 down the long back straight. That's over 1.2 kilometres. And here he is on the inside, the triple right-hander. Duval fighting hard to hold him off in the Peugeot, runs out wide. The Porsche with the inside line, huge understeer from number 5 car, but he still gets the move done. Great work by Julian Andlauer. Well, Andlauer making progress, but Alex Riberas in the 009 Aston Martin, he's the man who's making most progress from 9th at the restart. He's already up to 6th position. There he is. The Valkyrie has torn away from the cars that surrounded it after qualifying. Out wide goes Duval. And he's not the only one. The Cadillac behind also running out wide, and that was Earl Bamber. Well, here is the Aston Martin, or the second of them, on board with Tom Gamble. Somewhere up ahead, several hypercars, and in front of that is a corner. At the front of the field, they still have decent visibility. Hansen, James Collado in 2nd, and Lawrence Vantor with the white-nosed Porsche in 3rd. But the moment they get into traffic, that will vanish as well. There's 009, the Aston Martin in 6th position. Behind him, Ferdi Habsburg in the Alpine. The Alpines are really struggling these wet conditions. Everybody is finding grip to be really hard to find. Kevin Magnussen off wide in the BMW there. Oh, and a spinner! 2! Off goes the Alpine Fred Makovici, and that's Tom Gamble in the 007 Aston Martin Valkyrie. Both making contact with the barriers. Makovici's Alpine going already, but it's lost a lot at the rear and has side damage as well. Can Tom Gamble get going? If not, we might be looking at a safety car. On board with Gamble. Oh, and the silence as he awaits the impact. Nothing he can do. Absolute passenger on the standing water. And Fred Mako's view, same thing. Middle of the road, and suddenly it becomes a boat. Darren Leung still leading narrowly in LMGT3. They go by the Alpine that is trailing bits of bodywork. Third place, Tom Van Rompuy in the Corvette giving chase. And then Andrew Gilbert, fourth place in the Mercedes. They're having a really good run. Mercedes drivers saying that they were hoping that the rain would last. But there's Andrew Gilbert, look at this. Whoa, accident avoidance. The Alpine back in the garage. Lots of damage, and there is a safety car on track. Phil Hansen leading James Collado and Lawrence Vantor in third place. And with the safety car out, a number of teams taking the option of refueling. There's the damage to 007. Tom Campbell did get the car back, and that's excellent news for the Aston Martin team. Not the damage, but the fact that the car is still in the race. Driver change, and that will then go back into the garage. We go back to green, and Phil Hansen jumps away in the yellow Ferrari. James Collado, though, with worrying pressure from behind. Lawrence Vantor in the Porsche. Collado's going to have to make sure he keeps the door closed. Vantor looking up the inside. Collado covers. Behind him, Nick Nielsen. Nielsen in the second of the red Ferraris. Might be looking to take a place off the Porsche if he can get close enough. Riding on board with the Toyota of Nick de Vries. Look how much water is inside the car, rolling around on the dash. Look how much water is outside the car as well. The rain has increased in intensity. And up at the hairpin, off goes de Vries. Everybody else just about got round. Not everybody else got round, actually. Looked like maybe the Aston ran out wide there as well, just ahead of them. Brendan Hartley in the number 8 Toyota, outside the top 10. This is the battle for 11th place, with the Alpine of Ferdy Habsburg, the blue car in front. And Hartley now in a wall of water behind Habsburg, trying to find the corner. He goes deep on the inside. Is he going to hold it on? Yes, he does, and Habsburg can't come back at him. Into the pit lane, the number 46 BMW and the number 31 car. So LMGT3 driver changes now. They have completed their minimum driver time. Ahmed El Harty and Darren Leung step out of their cars. So too does Ryan Hardwick. Wholesale changes going on in LMGT3. The bronze drivers have done their minimum drive time. Now then, here's a battle on track. This is Earl Bamber chasing Ferdy Habsburg to try and get into the top 10. Cadillac the winners last time out, don't forget. A 1-2 result just before the summer break. And the Caddy does seem to have very good traction and good top speed here. That's a double whammy. Battle for position, Sebastian Boe in McLaren, and around the outside, Rahul Frey in the Iron Dames Porsche. She got shown the curbs there. There's her teammates watching the action. Celia Martin, Michelle Gatting. Race lead down to a whisker now. It's never been a big margin between Phil Hansen in the yellow Ferrari and James Collado in the first of the red ones, but the factory car now is quicker on track. Collado closing in. They're about halfway through their fuel stint, so Hansen's going to have to hold on. He's not the only one. Oh, here, look at the Aston Martin 009 squirming under braking, and Alex Riberas losing a place to the Peugeot of Loic Duval, and around goes Earl Bamber as well. First wet race for the Aston Martin Valkyrie, so the team are learning about how to use the Michelin wet weather tyre. Maybe they haven't got their pressures right, or maybe Alex Riberas has asked a little bit too much of it early on, but the Aston Martin is losing pace. Phil Hansen, monster moment, and James Collado all over him now. You can see what effect that is having on the young Brit in front. Hansen still with the lead, but not by much. And of all things, he cannot crash the car. Collado comes calling. The AF Corsa team has said to Hansen to let him go and concentrate on keeping the car on the road, and that would seem to be a very good strategy indeed. Collado through for the first time. We have a new race leader. Hansen stays with him. There's his teammate, Ye Yifei, ready to go. And in the background, Robert Kubica, he'll take over the car towards the end. Battle between the McLarens. This is for third place. Sean Gelael being passed by Sebastian Boe, and right in the mix there is Rahul Frey, and it's still side by side. Cover your eyes in the McLaren garage. Still very tough to make a pass, but it has been done. Sebastian Boe in front of us now as we ride with Sean Gelael, and he'll have to worry about the car in the mirrors. Further back, this is Valentino Rossi and Riccardo Pera. Oh, Pera bounces on the curbs on the inside, trying to go back past the ex-MotoGP ace, the battle for 6th position. Last year, BMW were 1-2 in Imola in the rain on slicks. There's no chance of slicks here. Now then, here's a change for 4th. Rahul Frey goes by Sean Gelael. Are the McLaren struggling? A little applause from Celia Martin, her teammate. So the Swiss driver in the Porsche up to 4th. The Indonesian driver in the McLaren down to 5th. And as the weather changes, getting wetter or drier, we're seeing all sorts of different performances. Here comes Riccardo Pera in the turquoise Porsche around the outside of Valentino Rossi, and now he's got the inside line for the left-hander. That was brave stuff. Traction there is very limited. Valentino holding on, and he manages to keep his nose in front, at least for now. 009 Aston Martin, but behind there's trouble for the number 8 car, Brendan Hartley in a spin. Right on board. And he's just out of sync in the S's here, and then ended up with far too much wet curb under the car. Grip level 0. Nico Varone and Julian Andlauer. Porsche versus Porsche. This is to change for 5th position potentially. Julian Andlauer, having spun early on behind the safety car, dropped right down the order.
Tires are okay. I feel like we are still quite low on tire pressure. I start to have a little bit of instability on the trail braking phase, like 13th.
Even while they're dealing with all of this water, the drivers are trying to help the engineers, and off goes Nico Varone, just asking a fraction too much of his wet weather tyres. He's buried in the gravel. Yellow flags are out. Is this going to be virtual safety car? Right on board. There's Varone, and that fraction of an instant of warning may just have saved Julian Andlauer. Virtual safety car. Pit lane open, and that's a great opportunity for everybody to fuel up, and finally, almost halfway through the race, to get the starting driver out. Out gets Nick Nielsen. In gets Antonio Fuoco. Brendan Hartley bails out to the number 8 Toyota, probably glad to have survived. And in gets Ryo Hirakawa. 99 Porsche is in as well. They were rescued from the gravel, and that will have cost them plenty of time. Race leader in the pits, the end of the road for James Collado as he hands over to Antonio Giovinazzi.
I think at the beginning, it was a good idea to take caution because visibility was 0. But I'm always up for it, you know. Brings a bit of bravery into it. But even so, car's working really well in the rain. Happy with the balance. Super tricky to make mistakes. If you go off the line into the surface water, you can lose control. So long way to go. I tried to give Jobby as much advice as possible, my British advice to him with this weather I'm used to. So let's see, fingers crossed.
Into the pits comes Phil Hansen. There's a Ferrari right behind their pit stand, so he has to come in sideways. The team put the car up on the dolly wheels. They've got to manoeuvre it back into the yellow box before they can start fueling. It's got to be inside the yellow lines. This is precious time being wasted. Yeyeve ready to take over. Driver change, handing over to Ben Tuck, the 77 Ford Mustang. That's the car that comes in from the lead of the race. Bernardo Souza, starting on the outside of the front row.
The crowd is still out there with the rain and with a little bit of cold supporting us, so I couldn't be more happier than finally delivering a proper result from my side, my responsibility of driving my stints and delivering the car in P1. Even if it wasn't P1, the drive itself was really good, and the car feels just great.
Over 66,000 fans visiting the Circuit of the Americas for the Lone Star Le Mans, a race that nobody perhaps expected to pan out like this so far. Midway through, Ferrari lead in Hypercar, and in LMGT3 it was the 77 Mustang that fronted the field. But with 3 hours still to go, almost anybody could end up on top of the pile in both classes. Lots of racing still to go here in Texas. We go back to green after the safety car, just inside the halfway mark of the race. Antonio Giovinazzi leads the race in the 51 Ferrari, right behind Matt Campbell, the number 6 Porsche, having a serious look. Giovinazzi having to really shut the door on the inside, and right behind him, another Ferrari Porsche battle, Antonio Fuoco and Mathieu Jaminet. Alex Riberas still in the 009 Aston Martin. Why have they not changed drivers? Because there are only 2 drivers for each of the Astons, so he remains aboard. That's probably not a bad shout because he knows what the conditions are like. The Aston Martin offline though, struggling at the hairpin, runs out wide. They may not have guessed their tyre pressures right during the last stop. So the Aston that was up to 6 now dropping out of the top 10. It'll soon meet its delayed sister 007, battle down the straight in the gloom. It does look like conditions are getting much worse, and there's Ryo Hirakawa. Brendan Hartley went off in the number 8 Toyota, and Hirakawa has done the same. This Toyota is normally so good in mixed conditions. It was contact with a 33 Corvette, trying to find his way through a gap in traffic that didn't exist when he got there.
Sorry, don't know what happened. Yeah, GT hit from behind.
Nick de Vries protesting about that. Oh, a trouble for the 27 Harter Racing Aston Martin as well. Was that contact or he hit a puddle? Let's ride on board with Zach Robichon. Turning through the left-hander, and then the car's gone. No amount of fast handwork is saving that, I'm afraid. Really tough conditions now as the battle continues to rage in both classes. Here in LMGT3, it's the 92 Porsche trying to take 5th place away. Ricardo Pera goes by Rahal Frey, under-braking at the top of the hill. They are right behind Lorcan and Hannafin in the yellow Mercedes. That's car number 60. BMW, 31 LMGT3 car running into the 15 Hypercar that spins on standing water. Conditions here worse than at any stage in the race. This is really treacherous and a huge spin. 38 Hertz Team Jota, that's Sebastian Bourdais. Massive series of loops just down the hill, absolutely out of control. Around once, around twice, around 3 times. It's picking up speed, spins 4 times. On board with Lynn Herdenius in the 61 Iron Licks Mercedes, right in front, Rahal Frey in the Iron Dames. He's going around the outside of the Porsche. The Mercedes crews told me before the race, rain would not be a problem for them. With Raffaele Marcello in the remaining BMW, look at this, cars just zigzagging around, jumping from puddle to puddle. The driver absolutely as a passenger there. Somehow it doesn't spin under him, but look at the speed he's lost. Raffaele Marcello down in 14th place. He was chasing Ryo Hirakawa, who also had a big moment. Coming up behind, by the way, is the white and green Porsche, Nico Verone. Now they lost at least a lap when they went off into the gravel and brought out the safety car earlier. So this is not for position, he is unlapping himself. But the Porsche does seem like it's got a little bit of a better handle on traction in these conditions than some of its rivals, and Verone just squeezes by Raffaele Marcello. Not sure what confidence Marcello has got in the car any longer. Trouble for the Toyota, and also in 12th place for Paulo Chatin in the Alpine, going slower. Now he's just been passed by Ryo Hirakawa in the Alpine. Let's take a look here. There's Chatin just ahead of Hirakawa. Just adds a little bit of standing water, runs out wide. A avoids a major issue but loses a place. Back to our race leader, Antonio Giovinazzi. Matt Campbell in the Porsche, number 6, closing in from behind.
The Porsche behind you is closing the gap in sector 2, but then you open it again in sector 3. Just keep an eye on the mirror, but all good so far.
Seems like honours even between Ferrari and Porsche right now. Nobody can gain the upper hand on their rival.
Treacherous conditions at the moment. I think if you see the onboard, we're just also trying to survive, but so far it's going pretty well, better than we'd hoped for. Let's see what the weather does. The rain should decrease at one point, but it continues for the moment, but I think that should start to play in our favor a bit more, but yeah, so far so good, still a while to go.
Battle for 11th in LMGT3. We're on board with Timo Boguslavski, looking back at Finn Gersitz in the Lexus, closing in from behind. Boguslavski probably can't see much of the car behind him. Gersitz can't see much of anything in front of him, but he lunges on the inside, bounces over the curbs. It's always tight at the hairpin. That's where the car on the outside closes the corner. Boguslavski still hard at it in defence, but around the outside, Gersitz got the move done. The Lexus among the quickest cars in the dry, finding its feet now in the rain. Lead battle is still well alight, so is the Ferrari-Porsche battle for third. Antonio Fuoco, Mathieu Jaminet, they are absolutely mirroring the battle ahead of them with Giovinazzi and Matt Campbell, and this quartet a long way ahead now of 5th place. Ye Yafei in the yellow Ferrari over 20 seconds, back in trouble. That's a looping spin for Jaminet, the second man to find trouble in the number 5 Porsche. And again, standing water is the enemy. It just grips the car and spins it out. From the gloom, here comes our leader in LMGT3. The Mustangs locked out the front row in qualifying. They had lots of pace in the dry, and it looks like they have got lots of pace in the rain as well. Ben Tuck, the second driver in that car, but Sean Gelael and Sebastian Boe in the McLarens, now second and third. Here comes the battle with the 46 BMW and the 31 car in front of him. Timo Boguslavski runs out wide, the doors open for Valentino Rossi, who just manages to control the grip and squeezes through. Three-way battle for 8th place in LMGT3. At the front is the Mustang. That's Gianmarco Leverato. Eduardo Barrichello, the hero of Brazil, on the inside in the number 10 Aston Martin. Does he get the place? Not quite. Right behind Lynn Herdanius in the Mercedes, looking to take advantage of any miscue by the cars in front, if he can see them. Hello, how can you see the race through this gloom? Back down the straight, Mustang versus Aston. The Mustang has got great top speed here, and Leverato just holds on, but Barrichello's still on the inside. Has he got the overlap? Yes, he has. Up to the apex of turn 1, he makes it through. Now, can he hold it down the hill through turn 2 and 3? Yes, he does. Barrichello up to 8th, Leverato down to 9th. Who's ahead of us as we ride with Alex Lynn? Well, somewhere in the gloom, is it the Aston? Yes, it is. Alex Riberas. And through goes the Cadillac. V8 versus V12. What a symphony that is. With Sebastian Bourdais, notice the Cadillac's got a wiper arm, but no wiper blade, and that makes visibility even tougher. In the gloom, there's Raffaele Marcello in the number 15 BMW. So this is the battle for 13th. And the Caddy has got the traction it needs to go on the inside. BMW still have not got a handle on these conditions. The problem for the engineers is trying to predict what the weather will do and set the tyres accordingly. And that's not an easy task. Trouble for Jose Maria Lopez in the number 7 Toyota as Mike Conway injured himself and couldn't race. And Lopez, another standing water incident. Lots of gravel picked up, luckily avoided hitting anything solid. Lopez, is he off again? He is off again, and this time he is stuck in the gravel trap. Number 7 Toyota being hoisted back as we are under virtual safety car. In the pits is our LMGT3 leader. Driver change at Proton competition. Driver change as well as Rahel Fry hands over to Michelle Gatting at Iron Dames. Great opportunity for everybody to fuel the cars, put on fresh tyres and put in what was probably going to be their final driver. Now there is the McLaren of Sean Gallale, but he has handed over to his teammate Marino Sato to take it through to the end.
I think the guys did an amazing job the whole year. We were struck by a lot of unlucky and unreliability about the car, but I think, you know, this event and it's close to where home of United is as well. So hopefully we can bring home a good result, and we're just praying for it.
Safety car out again at the Circuit of the Americas as we head into the final 2 hours of Lone Star Le Mans. And among the cars who are producing good performance here are the 2 Peugeots.
It was obviously very, very tricky conditions this time, and I wouldn't necessarily say what I expected to come back from a nice summer holiday and arrive here in Texas with such a heat on Wednesday. But yeah, I'm Scandinavian, and you know, in Denmark growing up during karting there, we sometimes had these conditions. So I think that turned out quite well today.
French Olympic swimming star Léa Marchand in the team garage at VSC AF Corsa. He might have some tips on how to deal with a lot of water. We go back to green. Ferrari, Porsche, that's your 1, 2, 3, 4, and look how close they are. There is Kevin Est, ready to take on the challenge and lunges for the lead immediately at the restart. Dives inside Alessandro Pierguidi. Does he get through? He does. Up to the lead for the very first time, the number 6 Porsche, as Miguel Molina hangs on in front of Michael Christensen, and Estra is off like a scalded cat. Did nobody tell him it was raining? Off the track goes the 51 Ferrari. Pierguidi momentarily losing control, comes back on in front of Miguel Molina. They are side by side, and Molina goes through. The championship leaders have lost 2 places in 5 corners here at the restart. And another one. There's a problem for the 51 car. 83 goes by. 51 has got a left front puncture. Disaster for the 51 Ferrari. 83, their closest championship rivals, move ahead. Well, here's where it happened. Well, it's not actually, that's before the restart. Estra right up behind Alessandro Pierguidi as they came onto the straight. But there was contact in turn 1, and Pierguidi then making contact with 83. The team see the drama immediately. In the pits is the 51 Ferrari. And it will be a single tyre going on back into the fray, but because the safety car bunched up the field, he's going to be a long way back from his rivals. Kevin Estra leads from Miguel Molina and Michael Christensen, and Robert Kubica in the yellow Ferrari holding on against the gold Cadillac of Alex Lynn, but not enough. Hasn't got the grip. The caddy goes up to 4th place. Great stuff from Alex Lynn. Cadillac winners last time out in Sao Paulo. 009 and 007 are back in the frame now. The Aston Martins in 6th and 8th.
These conditions, as we see, are treacherous and so easy to make a mistake out there, but luckily the guys at the heart of racing and Aston Martin gave me such a good car that it's our first race ever in the wet, but it seems like it, as a good Brit, it feels right at home.
Trouble for Lexus. That's the 87 car that started last on the grid. Clement Schmidt on the curbs. Stay off the curbs. Oh, and a big impact with the barriers. Safety car is out. That is to rescue the Lexus and the 33 Corvette. There it is on the right-hand side. Danny Juncadella had just taken the car over the curbs. No spin, but it seems something has broken on the car. And he's pulled over. Look at the right rear wheel there. The rear suspension has collapsed. Maybe just too much damage from the curbs. Back to green flag racing. A little over an hour remains here in Texas. Still wet, by the way. Kevin Estra leads from Miguel Molina in the Ferrari. Alex Lynn now up to 3rd. So is this a race that Porsche is going to win? Ferrari? Cadillac maybe? Can Aston Martin finish on the podium? Don't forget how well the cars are going, and look there at the hairpin. 007 on the inside of 83. Harry Tincknell battling with Robert Kubica. Last year's winners here, the winners at Le Mans. LMGT3 is alive. Marino Sato with Ben Tuck coming around the outside. The 77 Mustang might have a problem coming though. They've got an hour and a quarter remaining. Their third driver has not been in the car and there's contact under braking. Sato hangs on, but Ben Tuck is right there. Gregoire Sosi in third place in the second McLaren. This could be a big race for McLaren. Oh, if they survive the argy-bargy. Ben Tuck's still there. And Marino Sato not wanting to give up the place that he tried to take. Still going at it. Trouble for the 61 Mercedes, Lynn Herdanius. Riding on board, battling with Dennis Olsen's Mustang. On the curbs and very wet, he slid wide into the Mustang. Now has that caused major damage for the Mercedes? Counted down to full course yellow as our hypercars get to the hairpin. Harry Tincknell doesn't get by Michael Christensen, but the inside of the yellow Ferrari of Robert Kubica is Stoffel Van Dorn. Kubica's wide on the curbs, and Van Dorn picks up the place just in time. The Peugeot is really coming alive again as the conditions change, and so is the Aston Martin in front. Here would be a great podium, an Aston Martin and a Peugeot in the top three. It might happen. In these conditions, anything might happen. Well, this is just a little bit before that move at the turn 11 hairpin. You see the Aston Martin run into the back of the number 5 Porsche, and a bit of the rear of the Porsche comes off. And that might be a bit of a problem for handling. 61 Mercedes being craned away rather than put back on track. That's the end of their race, it would seem. Back to green and a really good restart. Fantastic start from Alex Lynn in just the wrong place. He was alongside Miguel Molina as they came into the S's though. Molina was able to just shut the door. Great restart from Alex Lynn. Now the engineer counts down to the driver, and he didn't jump the start. He was just unfortunate, he was in the wrong place. Battle for third place, Gregoire Sosi on the outside. On the inside though is Davide Rigon in the Ferrari. Now the Ferraris midway through the race were absolutely nowhere. Rigon up to fourth place, up to third place now, and behind him Alessio Rivera is in the points as well. Gregoire Sosi riding the curbs. The LMGT3 cars can get away with that more than the hypercars can because they've got better ground clearance, but the track is definitely becoming drier, and there is the hint of, whisper it, sunshine as the clouds start to break. So are we going to see a very different end to the race here in Texas? Around the outside of Marino Sato, Davide Rigon looking for second place in the Ferrari. They are both scrabbling for grip, but Rigon somehow wriggles his way through without contact, and he is up to second place. Astonishing recovery from the Ferrari drivers. Battle for fourth place in hypercar. On the inside, Stoffel Van Dorn dive bombs the Porsche. Michael Christensen comes back at him, but the Peugeot really seems to be reveling in these conditions. Some of the best track conditions we've had in the entire race, the least wet. Now it's just a wet track, whereas before basically they were racing on a riverbed. On board with the Peugeot. Here's the gap down the inside. Great stuff. Really encouraging for the Peugeot team. The drivers have responded to their car's nature here. Slick tyres waiting in the Ferrari garage. Who's going to go to slicks? 009 Aston Martin. This should be their final stop. Brand new wets go on. They don't believe it's dry enough for slicks yet. Final pit stop for the number 12 Hertz Team Jota, and they're having to make a driver change. That means you may as well do tyres. Norman Nato had not been in the car to this stage. Battle under braking at the top of the hill. Ferrari, Porsche. And the 51 Ferrari's recovery drive continues. Alessandro Pierguidi up to 5th place now, ahead of Michael Christensen. The number 5 Porsche struggling. The number 6 Porsche comfortable in the lead, it seems. So what's the difference between the two? Probably just the tyre pressures that they were given last time round. On board with Cadillac's Jenson Button. A great battle going on here as well with the number 8 Toyota of Sebastian Buemi. And Button drove around the Toyota. The caddy, even in these conditions, has got great traction, as it had in the streaming wet. Trouble for Aston Martin. 007, Harry Tincknell just leaving the pit lane. The cars come to a halt. So he's on the limiter. And it looks like it's started to accelerate and then selected neutral. 54 Ferrari in the pit lane. Davide Rigon has asked for slicks. 35 minutes to go. This could be a massive gamble. They were in a podium position. Slicks on the McLaren as well. And more slicks waiting to go on. But not on the 92 Porsche. They are staying on their old wet weather tyres. What a gamble.
Yeah, for sure, it's hard to overheat. I think the threads are okay, but it's just getting hotter and hotter. But there's no real dry line at the moment, just a few corners. So yeah, let's see, 4 or 5 laps would be sort of a last-minute change, I guess.
We go back to green in LMGT3, the Ferrari alongside the McLaren on wet weather tyres, the McLaren on fresh slicks that are still cold, and Alessio Rivera picks up 5th place in the number 21 Ferrari. In front of him now is the 54 Ferrari, and that is also on slick tyres. So Davide Rigon, look how slow he is off the corner. Rivera should be able to go by here, and he does. Rigon can't hold the tight line, and through goes Alessio Rivera. 25 minutes to go. Has the gamble on slick tyres been an expensive mistake for our LMGT3 runners? Battle for 8th place, the black Toyota Sebastian Buemi, the yellow Ferrari Robert Kubica on the inside. Nobody in Hypercar on slicks yet. But Kubica finding the grip to go around the Toyota. Toyota usually so good on grip and strategy. Look at the Mustang behind, all the way down the wettest part of the track, struggling to keep the tyres cool. That's on wets as well. Kamui Kobayashi, this is trouble for the Toyota team. He gambled on slicks. They gambled on wets in the damp qualifying. That didn't work. Slicks aren't working here either. Final stop for the number 5 Porsche, and a change of the rear end. Look, the broken bit of the right rear, bottom of the bodywork, that was from contact with the Aston Martin. They've had to change it. New piece goes on. That will cost them a place or two perhaps in the race. Into the final quarter of an hour. Last stops in from 2nd place, Ferrari number 50. Miguel Molina stays aboard. No hint of a slick tyre here. 83. They're taking fuel as well. Will they go for tyres? No, still on wet weather tyres. No matter how old and tired they are, they're still hot. And the race leader is in. Kevin Escher said it might be a late call for slicks. It was not a late call for slicks, but will the 51 Ferrari have the lead of the race? He comes across the start line. Escher on the way out. 13 minutes for the Porsche to win it. This is going to be close. On board with Est. Some of the driest conditions. And here is the battle now. Stoffel van Dorn ahead of Miguel Molina. They go ahead of Alessandro Pierguidi, who's in the pit lane for the final time. And the Peugeot is running in 2nd place. But it's being hunted by the Porsche. 51 returns to the track. led earlier on in the race, picked up a puncture, dropped down the order, lost ground to their rivals in the championship, the 83 car, but now they are ahead of them on track after 83 made an unexplained pit stop just a while ago. Inside the final 10 minutes, the battle for second place. Stoffel van Dorn's Peugeot eased a little wide as Miguel Molina had the traction to come up the inside. Molina up to second. Peugeot still on target though to match their best ever WEC result. LMGT3 massive lead battle here, and the key might be the Ferrari. This is Davide Rigon, his slicks are finally working. He goes by Richie Leeds for second place. In front of him is another car still on very tired wets, that Ben Barker, the race leader in the Mustang. The Ferrari should have this. 6 minutes to go, contact at the hairpin. Bits come off the Ferrari. And Ben Barker still in front in the Mustang. Final pit stop for one of the caddies in the inset. But the gamble on slicks is just about to work for the 54 Ferrari. Behind them comes the McLaren as well. That's Marino Sato, he's on slicks. As through into the lead goes Davide Rigon with 5 minutes and 45 seconds on the clock. Well, here's the contact at the hairpin. And the stewards will look at all contact. We'll have to wait and see what they say. It's the closing stages. He could perhaps have waited. Davide Rigon races away. Marino Sato up to second in the slick shot McLaren. The BMW coming through, that's Kelvin van der Linde. Is he up to third? Yes, he is. He's ahead of Ben Barker as well. He's also on slicks. Wow, what a dramatic topsy-turvy end to the race. And look at the way the slick shot cars have just left everybody. Here's your race leader, the final lap. They came up 14 seconds shy at Le Mans. They are not going to come up shy here. Kevin Estre brings the number 6, Porsche Penske Motorsport 963 to the line. They win in Texas. Lone Star Le Mans goes to Porsche Penske Motorsport.
We made it! We made it! What a brilliant drive. You guys, you are unstoppable.
Heading into the setting sun. Dry weather tyres were not used by the winning team, but a lot of courage, confidence and experience was. And for Matt Campbell, a first ever win in the World Endurance Championship, as he joins last year's champions Kevin Estre and Laurens Vanthoor on the top step of the podium.
No, this one feels very sweet because we didn't came here this weekend with that expectation. But I think these changeable weather conditions showed that no matter what, let's say, pace we have, that car 6 and PPM, we still know how to execute the race, and we did a perfect race, and that's where we get a victory for this year. I'm very happy we have to tick that off at least, so no, perfect.
Across the line in LMGT3, it is the 54 Ferrari, Davide Rigon. The gamble on slicks paid off. They had the pace, but a penalty awaits them. 5 seconds for contact with Ben Barker at the hairpin in the closing stages, and that's enough to hand victory instead to the 95 McLaren of Darren Leung, Sean Galale and Marino Sato, another of the cars that gambled on slicks. It's a first win for McLaren, it's a first win in LMGT3 for United Autosports, and a first win for Marino Sato as well. Porsche and Ferrari showed great pace throughout the race, the number 6 car winning from number 50, and Peugeot, their best ever team result, 3rd and 4th ahead of the 51 car that extends its championship advantage over number 83. The LMGT3 Slick Gamblers won. United Autosports victorious over Team WRT, with Vista AF Corsa still taking 3rd despite their penalty, and 77 Proton competition, what might have been, they could have won had the race been 5 minutes shorter. A great moment in the sun for Stoffel van Dorn, Lloyd Duval and Malte Jacobsen. A Peugeot podium. The 50 Ferrari team, Antonio Foca, Miguel Molina and Nick Nielsen finished second. And the winners after a torrid race, Matt Campbell, Lawrence Vantor and Kevin Est in the number 6 Penske Motorsport Porsche. The battle for the manufacturer's honours is still tight. Ferrari leading Porsche with Cadillac hot on their heels. We have 2 races to go. The season finale in Bahrain, but before that, in just 3 weeks' time, we head to the land of the rising sun. In the shadow of Fujisan, Mount Fuji, Toyota's home track. A track that is always famed for wet weather. It always produces spectacular racing. Who's going to come out on top?